Meredith Leon McCormick for World Bride Magazine. We have another exciting segment for you. As I promised, we're going to keep bringing some of the most amazing people to you so you can get familiar with them, their work, and the kind of quality work you can hire them for. So today we have the pleasure of interviewing Miss Chaya Bloomberg. Hi, Chaya. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys? I'm loving to be with this World Bride Magazine. It's such a privilege and an honor. What can I say?
We're honored to have you. What are you kidding? I love your hair. You look amazing. You look wonderful.
Thank you. You know what? It's the energy of two people conversing and positive energy that brings us together. The hair must feel it.
And that backdrop is absolutely stunning. What is that? Where did that come from?
So I'm actually designing an office, which used to be mine, and I gave it over to someone. It's actually from Poppy. I met her at a design show and I loved it. I'm like, this is art. Let's put that on the wall with marble. And everyone's like, you know what? You're crazy. Do simple, do basic. Like I just spoke to Arte and wall coverings because I'm doing a hallway. She's like, don't mix it up too much. I'm like, just trust me. You got to trust me. And when people trust me, this is what happens.
It looks stunning.
Thank you. I appreciate your compliments.
No, it looks absolutely breathtaking. It's a statement piece. I love that.
Okay, so we got to hook you up.
Definitely. So before we get too deep into our conversation, I just want you to tell everybody who you are. So let's start with your full name and the name of your company.
Okay, so my name is Chaya Bloomberg. I'm based out of the tri-state area. My company is called Chaya Events, which translating to also Chaya Designs. We're in the process. Since working with my clients, they actually want me to do their interiors, which feels like such a privilege to get to know the client and then for them to rehire me again for their interiors. So we're in the process of, changing it up, making a website that combines both and that people will understand who I am and what I am in simplistic terms. So you can hire me for an event. And then if you like what I do, you can hire me for your house, your home, your office. This way it's an experience you feel. It's not just paper, floor, paint. It's going into your space and feeling that experience the same way you would feel when you go into your party. Because when you go into your party, you want to feel something live. You want to feel something exceptional. But for me, I want my client to feel exceptional every day.
Wow, that's amazing. One more thing, give us your cultural background, because that's what's fascinating to me.
Thank you. And I love that you're so into all different cultures. That's really, really nice since we live in a world with such hate and such resentments. To find people that are fascinated by every single culture, for me, that's a privilege. So I was brought up religious, Jewish. My parents were not religious when they grew up, and my mother got my father with love, I guess, religious, and they're both religious now. And I'm religious, but I would say for me, I'm extremely spiritual. I'm definitely religious, but for me, spiritual is very, very important to connecting to my higher power, to connecting to God, to connecting to nature, everything that brings me closer to the one above. And then when I'm closer, I could bring out and give forth.
Fabulous. So where were you born?
I was born in North Shore Hospital. And then my parents came to Lakewood, New Jersey. They had a choice to either go to Lakewood, New Jersey or Muncie, New York. And like my mother said, who is extremely religious, and we would look like maybe twins, but with two different looks and two different vibes. But I love her dearly. She is much more religious, cultish type of thing, which I think she's beautiful and amazing. I'm more spiritual, so she's lucky we came to Lakewood, which it's extremely religious, more into the box type of thinking, which is great. But yet she did bring me up in more of an out of the box type of home. She always had different types of people at our house because she was into charity work, which was beautiful. And that was from her background. So I got to experience a lot of different types of interesting people, which was at the time hard. Yet now that I look back, it really made me to the person that I am. But for me, the most important thing is to be spiritual, because if I'm not spiritual, I have nothing.
Wow. And I think in our last conversation and from when we met, you also told me you lived in Israel for some point. Oh
Correct.
my God, that's so amazing. That's one of the places that's on my bucket list to go to, you know? So that's exciting to have this conversation with you. I love that.
So I learned that when you have positive thinking, it happens. So if it's in your bucket list, it's in mine, and we can do that together. So if we just dream, it can happen together.
Right.
And I can show you all the places. But so when I got married, I actually wanted to marry my boyfriend, but my parents didn't allow me to. So I got introduced to the most wonderful man who I am so in love with. And he was studying Bible studies at the time. And I moved down there. I did not know anyone, which is fine. Of course, there's anxiety provoking, but I like meeting different people. And his sister-in-law lived there, who's extremely religious. But I'll tell you something about the extremely religious, the real religious people. They have hearts of gold. And she was so nice. I moved next to them. He studied and taught religion. I went to college and I explored the country, of course, when he was, gone. What am I going to do? I had college, but college doesn't take so long. I'm saying I'm not studying so much. It's psychology. I'm meeting people next, and there's nature. So I studied psychology. He was studying in school, which was great. He ended up teaching boys who he really inspired and really connected to, which he still keeps into today. Actually, we had a student come stay by us, which I was like, tell him to please leave the house. He's 40 years old. Stop being so codependent. He's I'm his rabbi. I'm like, so what? But you know what? At the end of the day, I respect my husband and I trust my husband, and he stayed by us for a few months. And my son is like, when is he coming back? And I'm like, yeah, but my son is 20. So I'm like, what is wrong with you? But you know what? Apparently there's some good vibes going on there.
So that means people come to your house and they don't want to leave, huh?
I guess so. But you know what? To have people over and to get to meet people, people come from all different backgrounds, I'm not necessarily only to Jewish. Whoever is willing to come over and, to join in our family is great. We're both like that, me and my husband. I will say predominantly we do have Jewish people because that's who I usually hang out with unless I'm going out or meeting people. But I'm very open to meeting different people and I love it. I love learning from different people. And that's why, Meredith, when I met you, it was like instant connection.
Oh yeah, we connected instantly. We just were passing each other at the EMRG event and we're like, hey.
Exactly. And I'm like, who's that beautiful girl? I have to go meet
you're
her.
gorgeous.
You got it. So that's exactly what happened. So
it's a great story. I love how your energy from your social background, from your family, is what makes you who you are. I guess that's what really, so which is my next question, what inspired you to come into the business, to the business, it is your cultural background, and you said cleaning. So that means when you're cleaning or fixing anything up, you were moving things around. When did that interest to start creating or designing, when did that bug hit you? When did you know this is it? This is what I want to do?
So I actually have to not criticize you. I have to tell you that's not exactly how it happened because I was always a rebel. So as much as I cleaned and as much as I had to do what I did, I went out of the house and I was like, I need to get out of the house. In school, I was on the roof. I was always creating. I would love nature in school when I went to school because I also went to school in Israel. I drove all over the country and I love nature and I love when I was, I was staying in Israel, right? You're not supposed to go into the Arab shuk because that's dangerous. And you know what? I was like, I have God with me. I really do. As much as I was afraid, I wanted to see and to feel. So I went into that Arab shook. At the time I was 19 years old. It was probably stupid, but I was a major rebel at the time, and I was always creating, I was always building. Um, and my parents had a lot of people over. So I was always the one cooking, yet at the same time, I was having fun doing my things. And I always hosted. I wanted to make everything beautiful. And I just love creating. It's like an energy that comes from inside that goes out. And I do feel that when I'm spiritual, not necessarily religious, I am religious. And I teach that to my kids because I think it's important. When I'm spiritual and when I'm content within myself, when I work through my stuff, I could be anything. So
Wow.
it definitely is from my background, but I do feel that it's also from my personal DNA that I got. And I'm so blessed to get it. There's pros and cons of being creative, because then I could be mentally not so there. But I think it's really both, because it's not only the religion, because if it was only the religion, everyone would be doing this. And I do feel that I got something special that I have to acknowledge. And I'd like to give to the world, because I feel like the world needs love. I feel like everyone is so let down, and fear is what predominates the TV and everything. It's like, oh my God, there's a storm coming. Oh my God, what happened during COVID? How are you going to pivot through the business? You know what?
Right.
Everything is okay. Chill.
And how did you pivot? How did you pivot through COVID? How did you in your community manage to maintain your business and help others who were getting married? How did you do that?
Who said I pivoted? No, I'm just kidding. How did I pivot? I'll tell you how. When this happened, it was very fearful, right? And I just felt so comforted. It sounds crazy. I felt so comforted that there is a God that's taking care of it, and said to us, we need to do something. We need to be with our families. Everyone, I'm always on my, I always thought I was the greatest mother. I'm always on my phone. Guess what? She made a video of me. She comes out of the closet, pocketbook in hand, phone like this. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, you're always on the phone. I'm like, no, I'm not. She goes, yes, you are. So it was really a lesson to really sit there and tune into her. And I was able to be creative because of I don't know how to give things away. I had tires in the garage, and I made COVID seats with beer things. There was all my kids. And so I did with wood in the back, and then a tire for me. My other son did with tubes from the pool, and he had for a phone and for a TV remote with tires. So it was like,
really got creative, huh?
Yeah. So what I felt for COVID, how it helped me pivot, was to really internalize, to get inside of myself, to connect with my family. My husband actually made a temple in the house. It was beautiful. My kids loved it. So I was thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then I said to myself, this is what I'm supposed to be right now. This is what I'm doing. What's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know if a thunderstorm is going to happen.
Right.
So every day I live for today. And eventually what it helped was I realized that I have to choose my client, because I don't want to be with someone who's driving me nuts. Like, for example, told me today, I called you yesterday. Why aren't you available today? I said, you called me yesterday. I gave you an appointment tomorrow. So, you really learn about yourself. You learn what you want to do. You learn what you don't want to do. I got to be able to be with my daughter who had a baby, and I choose that. I will say no to a client for that, because these things go away and they're not everlasting. So what I chose was to feel from COVID all the positive, and I brought it out when everything started to be lifted. I started meeting people, going to as many events as I can that was feasible, that didn't affect my kids, to learn from all the people. I also learned that it's really important to learn. Like before COVID, I got a phone call that I should do an event for 5,000 people in a stadium with singers and everything like that, and wranglers. And honestly, I'm not up to that yet. And I don't know if I ever want to be up to that. And that's okay for me. And I learned that I have to keep learning. And I like learning because you gain so much.
You set boundaries. You set boundaries with people. You don't just take everything. So you're selective about your client.
Correct. Okay. Very selective, because I feel like it has to be a match. Not that they have to be my type. I don't need anyone to be my type, but I have to feel that they have positive energy. If someone has negative energy, that's fine within themselves and they're willing to work. If they're workable, I'm totally okay with it because we all struggle with negative energy. It's normal. I do also. So like, for example, I was in a kitchen place and the girl was like, I don't know what I want. I can't decide. I keep changing my mind. My husband's like this. I decided white. I always wanted white. I'm like, you know what? Go inside yourself. See what you really want. What's going to make you happy? And she breathed. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm a therapist all of a sudden. And you know what? She chose the gray. So she was fighting within herself and she felt so guilty for being anxious. But when she came out with that, it was so rewarding for both of us. And she calls me all the time. I love my kitchen. I'm like, you know what? I'm so happy for you. Like that is such a gift. That was a gift that didn't come from me. It came from some superpower out there. It wasn't from me. I was just in the waves of it. So pivoting, I'll tell you how I pivoted. I learned, I connected, and I just let fear be it. I connected to say, there's someone taking care of me. I don't know what it is because every day I change my mind. Is it the ocean? Is it God? Is it something that I'm supposed to listen to that I have to wear, you know, it's still 4 inches below my knees? But I just know there's something out there. Don't laugh at what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll tell you all the positives of being religious.
I love it. I love your energy of how you express it. And that leads me to my next thing of asking you. There's myths about being Jewish and Hebrew. You know, people don't understand that being Jewish is a religion. It's a faith. But being Hebrew, you don't necessarily, and you said it like your mom wasn't necessarily religious, but later on, after she got married, she became religious, and you are spiritual. Yes, you are religious, you obey the rules of your faith, but your spirituality and your connection to God, a higher being, is what leads you. So can you give us a few myths about your faith that people think they know and it's not?
Well, you're not from my faith. So you have to tell me what myths you think. I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, I don't have any myths because I do my research, you know, so I know some of the things that people think about Jewish faith, Jewish people is that they don't intermingle with other people. And I found that not to be the case. Case in point, you and I. You know, we met, we talk, we text each other, we email. So there's a mutual respect. So there is no disconnect as humans. We're all humans. We treat each other with respect. So that's one myth that I think people think about your faith that you don't. And the other myth that I've heard is that you don't do business with people outside of your community. But you've done events that is not, you know, that is not of Jewish faith, correct?
Correct. If you go to any show, I was just in Las Vegas, interior design show. I just made friends with someone she does candles and she's from the South. She's like, I'm your friend from the South. And she's telling me her art therapy and I'm supposed to listen to this guy for 8 minutes. I'm like, I don't listen. She's like, do it for 8 minutes. So we do intermingle. Yes, I feel that, yes, obviously there's a deep connection with my Jewish brothers and sisters, like everyone, just like the Christians, everyone has a deep connection to their religion. I'm not going to say I don't, I do. Yet at the same time, everyone is human. Everyone has blood, everyone has skin, everyone has eyes. There's nothing different than me. It's just the difference how I serve my creator. That's it.
Right.
I mean, I know we definitely look a little different. So people do stare at us. Like I cover my knees and I cover myself. And you know what? There's something beautiful about that. If you think about it, everything you could look at in a different angle. I think it's more alluring in a way. You're married to a husband, right? If every guy could sit and look at you, what's the allure? I'm covered, right? I'm covered. You don't know what's behind me. I don't know what's behind you. You're covered too. You obviously like it too. But I think that there's some sort of beauty behind being covered, being special to your husband. If you're committed to your husband, like everyone says, I'm marrying this guy. Why is that important? Why do you go through that whole long journey of being married? Is it because you want to be able to show your body so everyone else could see? I respect it. I'm just saying what I believe.
Right.
I believe that because I know that I'm friendly and I could intermingle, but I know that me protecting myself, and I could dress myself like a queen if I want to, or I could be chilled like a motorcycle guy. I know is when I'm with my husband, I'm with him, and that's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing to talk about. There's always cars in the street, but I stay in my lane. And that's the same thing.
And I think that's the beautiful thing that you and I talked about when we met for dinner. It was that we have this respect for modesty and class. You know,
Right.
I was talking to Luisa Diaz, who's a former Miss Venezuela, and she has this beautiful book. It's called Sexy is Timeless, and it's all about being kind and what sexy is. And it has nothing to do with sexuality or overtly showing yourself. And so when I hear what you're saying, yes, you wear long skirts, you know, past your knees. That's a choice that you have and you make, and you feel it's modest, you know, so, you know, and it's not, oh, I have to and I must. And because, you know, from what I understand of the Jewish faith, they're not forcing you to stay there.
Right. They always say, if you want to leave, you could leave.
So that's one of the things. And the other thing that I love that you do, and we discussed during our dinner, it was that you literally have family dinners with, is it Shabbos? Am I saying it wrong?
Yeah, Shabbos.
So you do Shabbos and you invite people to come over for it as a celebration and honor. And so I've always found that fascinating. I did have the privilege of attending one of them, and it was really interesting and great conversation, just seeing families sitting together and discussing faith and their day and different things. So I find that really interesting, and I find that it dispels so many myths when people actually speak to the person of that specific faith, because I can't assume anything about you without ever investigating it. So that's why it was important for me to have this conversation with you about your faith and how your work ethics, so that our viewers, our readers from all over the world understands that, one, you're available and open to doing work for them for their special events, their special occasions, but at the same time, you also have boundaries as well. You know, just because they call you doesn't mean that you're going to take it. Nobody does that, no matter what.
Exactly. Everyone has boundaries.
Exactly. And so that I appreciated so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh no, it was so important to me because I wanted people to understand that, you know, even though you are Jewish doesn't mean that you're not approachable and you're not available for work. And then on top of it, you have this amazing business that you're not only doing event planning, party planning, but now you opened your doors so that you can do home design. So that means you're available for other aspects of that couple's life to get them through. So when they buy their first home and, hey, I'm going to get Chaya, she can help me design my space. Is that correct?
Yes. And then it builds a relationship where ultimately that's really beautiful and that's nice, because that's really what I love. And that's what people love. And that's where you blossom, you know, building relationships, understanding each other. And you could do your best work when you see a relationship and when you see a person, you know, what they love. And I feel that it is very rewarding.
Yeah, I love that about you. And so the other thing is I think is it your mom has a nonprofit organization? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, my mom has a nonprofit organization. She has a bunch, but let's start with the biggest one. That I won't do. I'll do charity, and I want to start one for mental health, but I haven't started one yet. But she has one where they raise money before every holiday to give to people who do not have money, clothing, food, products like mixers, everything you need for that holiday. So the people for that holiday feel comfortable and feel like they could participate in a way and in a dignified way. They don't give them like discounts. They give them a card. So it looks like a credit card, and every person gets a credit card. Whoever, I don't know, they have like, they decide who is, who could get, benefits of
How
the
many people take
organization.
service? Yeah.
Yes. And, the people feel good. They come to the table, with new things. The women have new things. The men have new things. The table is nice because they have all new things. The food is, is fresh and it's good. It's from good stores. They don't have to go. So yeah, it's really, it's really great. When you're older, you realize. So yeah, that's an amazing organization that they started, which is amazing because where I live is growing by magnitudes.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. And so in your community, let's talk about the weddings. And this is a question I'm going to ask. I know part of it, and for some people, because I've been to a couple of I've been to 2 Orthodox weddings, and then I've been to non-Orthodox or just, I don't know, a little bit more modern, loose Jewish weddings.
Right.
Is it true that they do, the women and the men have separate?
So where I
want people to hear it from you. Do the brides have separate, rooms that they get married after they get married and they do their party? Because I know those men can dance.
They can shake their booty. So there's a bunch. There's a sect of religion that do it together. Where I come from, no. The women dance with the women, the men dance with the women, and and then the bride and the groom will dance, and then they go home and do what they need to do.
Okay, so you mean the men dance with the men and then the women dance, so they party separately. But how does the ceremony happen? Is the ceremony together? How's the seating arrangement at the ceremony?
So the ceremony starts with the bride on one side, and all the women. And then on the other side, the men in another room, they write up the Tanaim, it's called. It's like the prenup, but we don't do prenup. It's really like how he's going to take care of her and everything like that. And then he comes in and there's food and everything like that until then. And then he comes in surrounded by her father and his father, and he walks in through the women, and the father lifts her. She's wearing a veil. He lifts her veil, and whatever he wants to tell her, I love you, give her a special prayer, give her a kiss. And then he walks out, and then they go into the ceremony. The woman, the girl, everyone sits down, and there's prayers on the seat, and it's a very, very special time because you're with God. They say when we believe that marriage is between husband, wife, and God, and that's really what it is. So the husband and the wife walk the daughter down and walk the son down. The men on one side, the women on the other side, and then both. And then in between, there's obviously people that are going to walk down. It could be the kids. It could be like traditionally, and then the girl goes the stage, and the girl is circled by the mother and the mother-in-law 7 times, and then they say prayers. Like there's rabbis that come up and say prayers, and then they drink the wine. He puts the ring on her finger, and then they step on the glass, which is a remembrance for the temple that was destroyed. We have God's temple that's not here right now, and then they go off into their room to be together.
Marriage, yes. So now, like, I love the story of the veil because we know it as, I'm a Christian. So as a Christian, there is the story of Isaac and Rebecca and the veiling of the unveiling. That's how we know about the veiling in Christian weddings and all of that. So I'm familiar with that. And then from what I remember, if I remember correctly, but you can correct me, please, there's a blue trim that's put around. Is there something blue? Because I know we have in Christian culture, Christian weddings, they have something new, something old, something blue. And from what I understand, there's a blue trim in the Jewish faith, and that was what signified purity to it. Do you know anything about that, or was this just a modern one? So
I
it's
never
probably
heard of
not.
that.
Oh yeah,
I
there was a
never heard of
modern.
that.
It was a modern. Another young Jewish woman told me about that. And it's something, blue was considered the color.
In the olden times,
Yes.
they had a fish that produced blue that's called a talit that the men wore. But I don't see how that. Some people put it on top of the chuppah.
Okay.
But it's in black.
Okay.
It depends really what sect you're from.
Right.
But the most part, I believe that when Messiah comes, that we're gonna go back to, because we don't know where that fish is right now.
Okay.
It's called the tchelet.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to, the men are gonna go back to wearing that, but all my sons and my husband wear that garb with black and white right now under their shirts.
Okay.
For God to be with them at all times. That's their duty, their mitzvah.
Wow. Awesome. So you see, I'm learning. I just learned something else about it,
Yeah, but I learned from you about the Christian. You just told me.
Yeah, so we as Christians, we know about the story of Isaac and Rebecca and how he got married to Leah, the older sister first, but he really wanted to marry Rebecca. So he worked another 7 years. So he technically worked 14 years to get the woman that he loved, So that's the most amazing love story ever. For me, that a man loved this woman so long that he was willing to work 14 years to be with her, because I think the father wanted him to work 7 years for her. Then he gave Leah, and then when Leah, when he didn't see her until after the wedding, it was like, okay, he says, I'm going to work for the other sister. So I thought that was an amazing love story that we have as Christians. We know it, but it derives from the Hebrew Jewish religion, and that's why my personal view about it is being Hebrew doesn't necessarily mean that you're Jewish, and for me, I have an issue with the isms that people have, and they want to separate each other, because as Christians, we always have to remember that our faith begins from the Hebrew people. So it derives from the Jewish faith. So it behooves us all to know about the Jewish religion so that we can have a little bit more tolerance and more accuracy. And it gives us more opportunity to have good conversations like what we're having now, where you're correcting me from things that I thought I knew that I didn't know. And so I think that's the key to operating a successful business, just being a good neighbor, is to get to know one another, and then you can determine whether or not you want to share space with that person, So I really appreciate you breaking down the marriage ceremony in your faith. It's really important. And in your community. And so what I wanted to do, my last question that I wanted to ask you, can you give us who's your favorite artist, poet, or musician, from your community, and, share that little tidbit with us?
So I actually just was thinking about it today. So in the Bible, it says, Im ein ani li mili, which is from the Torah. And it's saying if I'm not for myself, then who am I for? But that's not what I love. I also love that it says that olam chesed yibana, that without charity, there's, that's what we have to basically build the world on. So it's a balance of everything. So I don't have a famous artist. I don't have a famous poet. It's really from Hashem. That's what we call it, our Torah, that really gives me the inspiration for my work.
And your gifts, right?
I guess if you say that.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing so much, and I want to invite you to come back again. This has been so enjoyable and enlightening for us, and I hope everybody that's watching totally opens their door to you, because your website is absolutely beautiful. I've watched the work that you've put up, and I love the simplicity and the invitation that you send out to people, that you're creative and you want to make people's dreams come true, and I feel it in your energy when I'm in
Thank
your
you.
presence, so I'm very proud to have this conversation with you, and I look forward to sharing more of your work with World Bride magazine readers. So
And I
can
feel
you
privileged at the same time to be
Oh,
on the show or talking to you or connecting with other people and, just being here.
wonderful. Can you give us your website and anything that people can reach out and get information?
Sure. So my website is, it's, you will say it like "ka," but we say it like "ha." So whatever you want to say that, it's Chaya Bromberg, which is ChayaBromberg.com. That's up and running for a while. My Instagram is Chaya Bromberg Designs and Chaya Events. I'm a bit fixing that now because I'm not, honestly, I'm being totally honest, I'm not so into it. And I'm not so on top of it. I want to hire someone to, be more of the, make it a little more.
It's beautiful.
I appreciate that. I think it's beautiful, but I always want more. We learn to want
Good. And that's
we
what makes
learn
it
to want more.
fabulous.
And I'm authentic, but some people, they want to also it to be more professional. I am professional, I am authentic, but I want more for myself. So it's Chaya Bromberg Designs with a Z, or you could type in Chaya Events. And it was really a gift being here, and I really appreciate your invitation. I would love to be back.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
So,
you.
guys, there you have it, Miss Chaya Bloomberg. I love her. I love her energy. I love what she's looking to do with our community, and our community means the whole world. So please go visit her website, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So until the next time, ciao bella.